so much. I am going to invite up our Chief Operating Officer, Maura Sullivan. She is going to lead us through our capital budget, CIB.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Battle, and board members. So glad to be with you tonight, this afternoon, as we move into the evening. And as we do every year in January, we bring our capital budget to you. I see that board member Fain is already on it and reading through it intently, which we appreciate. So part of what we were going to do, and I appreciate you letting me call you out, Ms. Fain, is to walk you through the documents. So that'll be the first thing on our agenda with you in just a moment. And so we'll walk you through those documents so you know what you're looking at, and give you our capital budget recommendation for the school year, that we then present to the mayor's office and the city for review, and Metro government as part of their capital budgeting. And sneak preview, I'm going to be turning it over to our Executive Director of Facilities and Maintenance and Construction to walk you through the actual presentation, but sneak preview, not a lot has changed. So our priorities remain the same. We do continue to update our priorities every year by reviewing the Facilities Condition Index. You'll hear us say FCI. We love our acronyms, but our Facilities Condition Index is reviewed yearly through visual and technical aspects of the school, but not a lot has changed because we haven't been able to do a lot of the things that we want to do, but we have made some great improvements also along the way and still have more to bring you through our capital program. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Mego.
Thank you, Maura. So just a quick overview of our agenda. Thank you, Maura, for welcoming us. And then you do have 3 documents, and I'll discuss what those are. We'll look at the capital spending plan award from last year that was just awarded to us. Actually, I just got the business unit designations today, so very good timing. We'll also look at year 1 priorities for the CIB, capital improvement budget request, as well as district-wide, and then, of course, discussion and next steps. So just to real quickly get you oriented with the documents you have 3 documents. The first one should look like what you see on the screen. It is the capital spending plan award from last year. And I think Maura is going to be my Vanna. So
it does not say that it is the capital spending plan.
Oh gosh, my bad. Sorry about that.
First thing there is project name that says Alex Green.
Yes. So this was the capital spending plan that, like I said, we just got awarded, and that the construction office, as well as the rest of the district, will be working toward implementing projects. The next document you have is the, that's fine, is the capital improvement budget. And it does have every school in the entire district listed on that document. Yes, many, many pages. And when you're reading this document, you can look at the screen, and that is kind of how you read this document. The renovation projects are in blue. The projects that are in red, those might also include renovation, but they include additional seats, so increased capacity. So just because it's blue doesn't necessarily mean we're not adding on to the building. In some cases, we know that schools are woefully undersized, have tons of portables, and it might be listed as a renovation, but we're still, adding on to it in order to get it to the capacity it's listed at now. Land and other is in black. You'll notice there used to be, I don't think this year, there's land, some stadium projects that we've had. The shading, we do have schools of innovation noted out, so you can see where those fall on our priority list, as well as the items on the left and the right that are designated in blue. Those were in year 1 priority on our capital improvement budget request last year. And then finally, we do have some color coding for ease of navigation on the legend with the capacity of the school, as well as the condition. Maura just mentioned our acronym for that is FCI, Facility Condition Index. So generally, If a school is over 110% capacity, we consider that kind of a critical need. If it is under 65% in its condition score, we consider that a critical need as well. The third document you have is the year one priorities. I won't spend a lot of time on this document, but the thing that is important to know is that this is the menu. So this one document, that is the menu. So when we send this in to the city, these are the things that can be considered for the capital spending plan award for next year. So getting into the request list, and this is a request list for our capital improvement budget. These are all the things in year one. So I won't go through them in extensive detail, but I do have the details if you have questions. So at Amqui Elementary, we are looking at a renovation and an addition there to accommodate the KA program that now exists at that school. Of course, it was an elementary school, so we're looking at adding program that would bring it up to the standards for a middle school as well. The property that we just purchased, you guys just approved a purchase of it in the fall in the Antioch area at Rice Road and Bell Road. That is the Antioch Cluster Elementary School. And so we are asking for funding for construction. We already had design money, so we have been in the process of designing that school. So we are asking for construction money. We also have a line for early learning hub. We do have a location that we have been looking at in Antioch. You guys remember we purchased some land on Mount View Road. On Mount View Road for a middle school, that is still in the portfolio, but it is large enough to hold both. So we could have an early learning hub there. We've also been talking about an early learning hub to repurpose Hillwood to include an early learning hub. So these dollars are intentionally vague so that we could move quickly on whichever one comes to fruition faster for us. The next one is Cane Ridge Cluster Elementary. This one is, we do have land for this. It was given to us from a developer as part of their allocation for the development, and it is in the Burkett Ridge subdivision. Again, we had design money, so we have already started design, so this would be a request for construction money. The next request is Gateway Elementary. You'll notice this one is 120% at capacity. We had to add more portables onto them again this year. They do have a little flat spot that you can go out the side of the building and start adding classrooms. So we do feel like this one needs to take priority in a small addition to the school because there are not a lot of rezoning options in this area to accommodate the growth that we've seen at this school. Glencliff High School. This is the continuation funding from the award that we just received to begin design of a renovation for that school. The next one on the list is the Graymar Family and Community Support Hub. We've been talking about this one for a few years with you guys, but this would be the dollars needed to renovate that building to include all of the community services that would go along with the Vanderbilt Clinic that we had planned on doing another employee wellness center at this location. So these would be all the supports that go with that wellness center and the clinic. The next one is Haywood Elementary. This one is also has already received funding for design. So this is the construction dollars needed to complete that project. McGavick High School is next on the list and probably our biggest dollar ask in this project, in this request. It is a full renovation of the school. Next is our middle school SSMV program. Again, this one is a little bit vague because this is still a in development project for us. And so we wanted to be sure we had dollars on reserve for any facilities changes needed to support that program. Again, these are in alphabetical order, so not priority order, but in year one, they're just in alphabetical order. The next one on the list is our MNPS daycare facility. We've talked about this for several years, and it's come back up here recently, and so we didn't want to miss the opportunity to potentially implement some daycare facilities for our employees around the district, and of course, that would take renovation dollars. So this does represent one full center. I think it's about 10 classrooms, so it would be, an adequate sized facility. Or, again, vague vague description here. If we needed to spread out some services around the district and maybe use existing space, we would have renovation dollars to support that. Number 12 on the list is our pre-K additions. This one was one that we considered doing out of Esser Bridge and looking at every school in the district that does not have pre-K and does not currently have space to add pre-K, what it would take to add 2 classrooms to each building. And of course, it varies in complexity from location to location, but this would hit the rest of the locations in the district. Napier Elementary is on the docket for a playroom addition. Right now, they have a gymnasium that is part of the community center that is directly connected to the school, and that has been somewhat problematic for the school from security and scheduling standpoint. So we are looking at asking for dollars for a playroom addition at that facility. You'll notice that one's blue. We did ask for that last year as well. That one is designed and just awaiting funding for construction. Number 14 on our list, and again, not in priority order, is Nashville School of the Arts. We do have money for design, and we are headlong into the design process for that replacement facility on the existing campus. So this would be the request for the construction dollars associated with that project. Next is Neely's Bend Elementary. This, just like Amqui, is a renovation in addition to accommodate the K-8 program that exists there on the school campus now. Next on the list is Overton Cluster Elementary. We have started design on this school, and it would be located on the campus with McMurray. There's a substantial kind of large open space that we would use to have that elementary there on that campus. The next one on the list is the Robert E. Lillard Family and Community Support Hub. Similar to the Graymar project, this would be upgrades to the facility, including the infrastructure upgrades that are needed at the facility to bring it up to standard, as well as making it into a community support hub for our staff and our families. The next one is the Community Center, the Support Center for Family Information and Employees, and that is a proposed additional building on this campus, and it would primarily be our public-facing services for our Family Information Center and our employees. The next one is the Cone Center. It's My Digital Future Space. This would be a digital future, a lab with, accommodations for hands-on science things that we can do in that space at Cone. And then finally, but not last, because again, this is not prioritized, it's in alphabetical order, is the Westmead Elementary replacement. This is design as well as construction request dollars. So this one we have not started on, like many of the others that we have already started. So then if you want to flip to the last page of your 6-page document there, we've got our district-wide priorities. So I won't go through these in extensive detail because there's a lot of lines and they all have pretty detailed descriptions for what they are. But just kind of a general overview, the district-wide money, these are things that keep our business running, including school bus replacements, which we have to go through a 15-year cycle. Once we hit the 15 years or the miles driven, then we have to surplus those vehicles by law. So we'd replenish those school buses, as well as our white fleet replenishment. It also includes dollars for nutrition services so that they can keep their equipment in their kitchens up to date, and the security program is in here as well. Also of note in here is electric school bus charging infrastructure. We got a grant recently that will help with these dollars, but we also do need to supplement to get the infrastructure in place for that. And then everything you see in blue is all of our deferred maintenance program. This does cover code-required building upgrades, as well as fixing deficiencies and failing infrastructure in our schools. So here on the slide, I've got the remainder of the maintenance items on the screen, as well as green is our technology lines. And I did want to mention that in the CSP that was just awarded, which was the first slide of the deck, we did include dollars to complete the audio enhancement implementation in all schools. So very excited to get that completed across the district. And so the rest of these dollars in green keep us in one-to-one on technology, as well as continue to upgrade our technology for projectors and classroom technology. And then the final pieces on this district-wide list are some compliance things and some kind of miscellaneous things that don't fit into a lot of buckets, as well as our emergency contingency dollars. And then that last line is our high school competition turf fields. That would be the final allocation to complete that project. I see the big smile on Dr. Battle's face. So I'll just go ahead and note the dollars that we just got awarded from the city will complete 4 schools this summer. Those are, I called myself writing them down, and I didn't on this piece of paper. They are Antioch, Cane Ridge, Glencliff, and Hunters Lane. So, yes. And so the ones remaining are Overton, Hillsborough, Lawson, MLK, and Hume Falls. So that last designation would be for those schools. So opening, I guess I should turn it back over to Maura for any discussion, or Dr. Battle. You're welcome.
Over to you.
All right, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Board Member Tyler?
Yeah, I have a few. One, are the high schools required to have turf? I mean, we have brand new fields at Lawson that I would be so sad to see torn up.
Yeah, that's why Lawson is last in the rotation. In fact, that'll be the last turf field completed because of the new campus there on site. But there will be a standard turf field for all of our schools by way of trying to get as much use out of the current field that we invested in as we expanded the new school campus.
But it will be required. Everybody will have
Yes,
turf.
that's correct.
Okay.
Any other board members?
I have a couple more questions, if
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so I noticed that at the Early Learning Hub, one of the locations was set as potentially at Hillwood, which is my district. And so I also know that there was thoughts for when Westmead finally gets its replacement, that they were going to swing those students to Hillwood. So what are our thoughts about that?
Yeah, great question. Casey, I'll let you respond. You know, I'm happy to, but you've got the answers.
So we will be sure that we can fit both and have them separated for security and, you know, all the things you would expect to be able to have them co-located. And they make sense to happen together. Because
Yeah,
it's
I mean, there's
still
separate
our little-
buildings and it works.
Yeah,
Well-
it's a giant campus.
Yeah, the campus is actually designed perfectly for this. And I would also note that when you look at our extensive wait list for pre-K seats in the district, the majority of them are in the southwest quadrant.
Yeah, I'm aware. I get lots of questions about that.
We're trying to be helpful here.
Yes, it would be well loved and embraced to have one there. It would be truly a wonderful thing for them. And then the Cone Center, the question was, virtual school is still there, correct? So is this to supplement with virtual school or to be in addition to separate?
It is to maximize the instructional space we have, given the programming needs and desires of the district. So it will not displace the virtual school. It'll be a maximization of the space, given our vision for academic programming.
Okay, great. All right. Those were my questions. Thank you.
Board Member Young?
Thank you. Mine was more of a color coding question. I missed one of the so if we look at items 5, 6, and 11, they're not color shaded blue. So does that mean, but then if you look at the color legend at the bottom, it says that if they're shaded blue, it's unfunded.
Yeah,
But is that a different I don't,
So they were requested last year and not funded last year.
which ones?
The ones that are blue
Okay.
in year one were also requested in year one last year, but they were not funded.
So 5, 6, and 11
Are
received
new.
fund.
Are new this year.
New. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you now. That was my question. Thank you.
So there's shading. It's a very good question because there's shading and there's font.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the text color, the shading, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Is there a scratch and sniff column too?
No.
Okay.
We'll add that as
So-
a continuous improvement item for next year. Thank you for the suggestion.
I look forward to the challenge.
Board Member Block?
I have just maybe two questions. One is, the Nashville School of the Arts replacement, Casey, you mentioned, will be on the Nashville School of the Arts property. At some point, I remember hearing discussion of this. I know I've had parents there ask a question about it. Can you just give a little bit of where we are?
Yeah, sure. So we procured an architect last fall, and you guys approved their contract, and we have been meeting with the school for the month of December. I think Rich and I lived there and got to meet with students, staff, really got to break down everything. So we're really in the infancy of the design process and moving it kind of parallel with our Vision the Arts space as well, so that we're thinking about both of those programs together on the same campus and how they, can work in tandem. So still in the infancy of design, but feel confident that we can fit all of it on the campus. Now, the existing building will have to be torn down.
Right. So it'd be one of those things sort of like similar to how Percy Priest is currently being done, where a new building is being constructed while students are in the old building and then they move into a new building. Okay, great. But obviously it's well off given funding constraints for the construction itself. Okay, and then my other question is, and I know you guys explain this probably every year, so my apologies. But in the year one group, there are some schools that have lower combined condition scores than some of the schools in the year 2 through 5 group. How does that work? Why do schools move up or down? And I think you gave a little bit of explanation on this, but could you just and give any more detail on?
Making sure I can.
Yes, thank you.
So when we look at prioritization for projects, we have to consider both capacity and condition. So if you'll notice, the ones that are in, the capacity projections as well. Thank you. So when you look at these, it's really a kind of a combination of all three of those. So some of these that are in blue for just renovations, like Glen Cove High School, for example, if you look at the rest of the high schools down through there, they're the lowest rated overall condition score. And then, McGavick is right there with them. So, but then if you're looking at a program issue, so like AMQI, for example, they are significantly over capacity, as well as Neely's Bend. Elementary is significantly over capacity, but their condition is fine. So in that case, we need to add on to the building in order to accommodate the overcapacity. So that's why it gets prioritized for a project. So it's a combination of all three.
So when that kind of question gets asked by a community member, we can comfortably say, yeah, the combined condition score is a critical element, but we also need to consider the current capacity and future capacity needs.
Yes.
Okay, great. That's super helpful.
Projections.
Enrollment projections, yeah.
And this is why you'll also see a variation in renovation versus a new build. I mean,
Right.
so that's varied based upon the combination of those factors and what we're trying to solve for.
And also something that you said, Casey, which was about, I can't remember which school it was, but in that particular area, there's not, I think it was Gateway maybe, there's not an opportunity for rezone. So if there's not an opportunity for rezone, then that plays into it. Okay, that's all just really helpful. Like, I think this is maybe the first time it's actually sunk in for me after probably my third time of hearing it. My last question is just, I have had council members at times ask me about increased opportunities for childcare, daycare, early learning, when this menu, as you called it, goes to the council, if that is something that council members feel strongly about, I mean, we're not saying, it's one of those things where like, they want to find extra money for that, they absolutely could. We have it planned. That's maybe not an accurate way of saying it, but as I've had people ask this question, why can't we utilize older buildings for things like daycare centers? I have said we have some plans for those types of things, but it requires getting the funding from the council, in addition to the fact that we have all of these other needs that we're already stating in a priority order. Is that
Yes, and
an
so-
accurate way to describe it?
Yes, and when we're bringing this recommendation to the board, we are very intentional about what's in year one, right? Because all of the things in year one are up for potential investment, but the advocacy actually is going to start with the mayor. Because you're going to set the tone for the pot and the stated projects that are in the plan. It's not a lot you can do when there's a number of stated projects within the spending plan.
Thank you very much.
Board Member Player would like to respond to you, Aaron.
And also, I think council also has, the way they govern, they take kind of their councilmatic privilege and priorities as we look at the district as a whole too. So some of it is, even though there's desire and we love to meet that desire, we have to meet the conditions of the entire district. And there's some that has more urgency than even though we would like to fulfill. But we also have to be mindful of some schools are in dire condition. It would be unfair and unequitable to put some conditions into some districts and not other, because that has happened in the past. And then you see by the grassroots movement of certain parts of town can get things move forward in other parts, and it's not always equitable. And so that's something that we try to make sure that when we do renovations, that it's equitable where the true needs are, even though, I mean, if they want to give us $1 billion just in capital funds, that would just go exactly to that. I mean, we will take that at any point in time. But also, we have to look at it. There is also equity we have to take into in the matter of where we put our funding and how we also deal with the deferred maintenance of our schools.
And if I can add one other thing, we're also, when we get the spending plan, in a position where there's stated projects, like what you can reasonably fund with the remaining investment as well. So just want to make sure that that is also taken in consideration, because there's some projects, based upon the amount of funding that's available, we could not move forward on, whereas a smaller project, we might be able to prioritize because we can.
Board Member Fain.
Honestly, all my questions were answered throughout the correspondence, to be honest. But I did have one question, because this is my first year looking at this. Priority year, that is the year projected for those projects, correct? So like for John Early, it has priority year 7. So we're looking at 7 years past. So okay. And reason for that, like you stated, is due to like enrollment and other factors that determine that. The reason why it's pushed out a little further than others, correct?
It is, and I also will say that that doesn't mean that nothing will happen facilities-wise at that building.
Yeah, I was there
7
yesterday and they were getting paint done in 2 of the rooms.
There you go.
Yes.
Of course, there's a lot other work to be done, but they did have the painters for 2 days, and yesterday was the first day that one of the projects was getting done.
Yeah, and we've been working on flooring replacement at that school as well. So we do, with our district-wide money, have issues that we're able to tackle for schools that aren't building-wide.
Right.
renovation projects.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
You're welcome.
Board Member Taylor.
Thank you. My question was related to some of the conversation that's taking place. I'm just wondering, is there a way to develop a scoring system that includes all of those factors, so that when we have the final number, it kind of just looks subjective and it's all ranked to where it includes all those equity pieces as well. So if you see that, like, for instance, District 1 hasn't had any projects over the past few years, or only 1 out of 20 projects, that those types of factors could be taken into consideration as far as the scoring goes. And I'd be willing to help with that.
Yes, and, or maybe this is a yes, but.
No, I like the and.
No, yeah, I do too. I was trying to get us to an and. We do, because we also combine school walkthroughs and visits. We're in schools often. The needs shift, right? And not, just, we constantly are balancing enrollment to projections as an example. We have a few schools, I think one of we talked about was Warner today, where like in 1 year we're seeing like this enrollment increase, which may, switch some of the order. And so, yes, we want to make sure that we have a pretty solid formula by which we're making the informed decisions. Our team also looks at the equitable distribution of the projects across the district as well. I know that's what Frida was just alluding to. So we will continue to do that, with the caveat that sometimes things become a priority that we could not have anticipated. The daycare center one became an extra pressure need this year because of some other moving pieces. We thought we were going to be able to wait a little bit, but then we had some programs go offline, which have been supporting our own staff. And so that prioritization we needed to acknowledge and adjust. So yes, with the ability to still monitor where everything lands.
Board Member Player.
And just kind of to add color commentary, for lack of a better word, to this, and more just as a kind of an explanation more to the public, that, we have 162 schools. So imagine if you have 160 houses that your personal family that you're in charge of, and you only have the budget of your income. So also, too, understanding that we're also trying to manage and juggle 162 schools. There's been a while where we didn't get any capital funding at all. So there was deferred maintenance because we didn't have consistent funding due to the economy and other type budget parts. So to the public, as we will like to solve everything and fix everything, just be mindful that imagine if you had to take care of 160 houses at once with a double income, and you're trying to do that and constantly do your daily maintenance repairs, but also doing major renovation. So it's one of the things that this is what we have to consider as a board, that we're always trying to constantly balance compared to what funding or lack of funding we get from the state, what the city has to balance and prioritize with, general government and us, that it's a bigger picture, and understand that we will love to fix everything at once, but until we win the Powerball for schools or something, that we can't do it. But it's one of the things of just be mindful that we also often make tough decisions, but it's a lot of managing of a lot of buildings. And those are buildings that have classes. We're not even talking about maintenance buildings or like this building or anything like that. We're responsible for overseeing.
In addition to the capacity that it would require to do all of that at one time, which is nearly impossible.
Yes.
Board Member Tyler.
Yes, and it's also my understanding that we have an outside group that kind of helps us put together all of this. So it's not that way we are removing our ability to maybe push it towards one or another, and it's important to keep it more equitable that way. I think, what was it, every 5 years? Is that correct? And then we kind of double check it every.
That's correct. We
Yeah.
work with the external
Yeah.
evaluator that goes out every 5 years to, particularly around the index scores,
Yes, that's the
help
one.
us with that measurement.
Yeah, and that's done so that we don't have somebody who can come in and then pressure or make changes to have somebody jump ahead of somebody else. So that it is truly equitable in a way that is kind of just looking at what is existing and what it really truly needs, as opposed to what somebody is lobbying hard for.
Board Member Fain?
And maybe this was addressed by you, board member Player, but since we already have the budget, right, and what we're looking at when it comes to renovations, when we present it to the city, do we give them this, or do we wait on what their budget is for us and then we apply it to this, if
Hold
that
up-
makes sense?
Hold off on that answer. We're going to get to that part in just a second.
Okay.
Anyone else have questions? All right. I will say, every year since I've been on the board, you guys have heard me fuss and advocate about McGavock High School. So I've been kind of quiet. So I just want to thank you because it's on the list. But I've gone through the same thing with prioritization related to McGavock, and where it stood as it relates and how it kind of moved up and moved down and moved back and over and all of that. But we did have a situation with Two Rivers that was not on the list that we had to get central heat and air added to. So we see that the priority jumps oftentimes for that. And so I just want to thank you for the work that you guys are doing around capital needs and being really objective in how we address the issues across our district. It's a big district, and we all come advocating for the needs within our communities. But I also understand that we have to look at the district as a whole. And so keeping that in mind, I asked you to hold that off, Board Member Fain, because I want to jump back to Dr. Battle. Dr. Battle, if you could have your team talk to us, since we have a lot of new board members on board, to talk to us really briefly about the process that happens now. Once we approve this budget here, then what happens moving forward?
All right, I'll turn it back over to Casey and Maura, some of which is required of us, but if you all can walk us through the process from here.
Yeah. So I included on the slide deck for you those next steps. So once you guys have reviewed this next board meeting, this will be on the consent agenda for approval by the board. And then I will send it downtown. And when I say send it, I mean I will email it. Downtown, it goes to the planning department as well as Metro Finance. The planning department and Metro Finance then add it to all of the departments into one large CIB request for the entire city. And just to note again, the items that are on that one-page document that you have are the only items that will appear that can be considered for the spending plan next year. Thank you, Vanna. Have a new Vanna. And so then at that point, the CIB for the entire city goes to the mayor's office, and the mayor's office will announce a capital spending plan sometime in the future. That used to be aligned with the operating budget, but in recent years, it has been in the fall or around Christmas time, towards the end of the year, to announce that capital spending plan. Do you want to add anything? CIB. Introduce.
CIB stands for?
Oh, sorry, these little small details. The CIB stands for the Capital Improvement Budget. And then I also want to take a point of privilege to introduce our new Director of Construction, Rich McCoy. Rich, take a bow, yes. Rich has been an architect here in Nashville. Maybe I shouldn't reveal his age, a long time. Has also spent time on the Zoning Appeals Board and has just a great root here in the Nashville community and the architectural world, as well as codes and, fire marshal and all those things that trip us up. So
And
very,
MNPS parent.
oh yes, and MNPS parent. So excited to get him into the fold, and you may see him on this stand next year. So we also always like to close out with how can you help us as a board? And very simply, you can advocate these priorities with council. You can advocate these priorities with the mayor's office. Dr. Battle already mentioned that. And then, share these priorities with your communities so there can be, we can build support within the community and advocate for these priorities for the district. So.
All right, thank you. If there's no further questions, we are going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.